好的，各位老师、各位嘉宾，大家好。我先站起来跟大家打个招呼，但是我待会儿需要坐在我的电脑面
I
前，
want to stand
就
up to
是
say
因为我
hello
的
to
电脑，
you.
我坐在那电脑
I'm
面前，我是
sorry
要
for
线上
later
的，
on
不能跟前
sitting
面看到。
down because only when I sit here can
好
the
的，
audience see me in
各位
my
老师、各
face.
位专家，大家
So,
好，欢
dear
迎来参加
experts,
今天的促进
ladies and
中
gentlemen, good
国和欧洲
afternoon.
产煤区经济
Welcome
多元
to the
化的能
workshop
源公正
on
转型
boosting
多边对
economic
话
diversification and
非
co-regions in
常欢迎
China
今天
and
的
in
线上、
Europe.
线下的嘉
Also,
宾，我
welcome
非常期待
all
今
of
天的讨
you
论。
panelists,
今天我们
both
的线
online and
上
offline.
嘉宾以及观
Online,
众，由我
we
的
have
同事
our
Grace 和
colleagues,
Philip 为大家提
Grace,
供支持。如果
Phillips,
大家有
who
任
are
何问题，也可以
supporting
找他
us.
们。
If you have
今
any
天我们的对话
questions,
呢是
let
分
them
成两个
know.
部分，
Our
第一个
discussion
部
today will
分
be
是关
divided
于
into
煤炭
two
产区
parts. The
在能
first
源领域
one
的经济多元化，
is economic
第二个部分是
diversification for the
关
coal
于非能
regions,
源领
and
域的经济多元
secondly,
化。每
non-coal
一个部分呢，我们
sector
今天
economic
有3个案例。
diversification. In
案例分
each
享结
part,
束
we
之
have three
后，会有
cases.
2位专
After
家
the
进行点评。点
presentations, there
评
will
结
be
束之
two
后，
experts
我
as
们有一段
commentators,
开放
and
讨论的
then
时
we have
间。在这
some
一段时
time for
间，
opening
我
floor,
可能会
opening
引导一些
discussion.
讨论问
I will
题。
give
另
you
外，也
some,
欢迎在
prepared
座的
questions.
各
And
位观众以
also,
及线
if
上的
you
观
any
众
have
分
any
享你们的观
questions
点或者
online and
是提问
offline,
题。
please share it with
我们
us,
线上的观众的
your
话，欢迎你
opinions,
们随时
suggestions,
把
and
你
even
的
your
问题
questions.
提
And
到
for our
webinar 的
online,
对话框里面，我的同
guests, and
事
you can
会收集
also
这些
type
问
in
题。我
your
们会选择
questions
一
in the
些好
chat
的问题
box,
提出来，
and we
跟
will
大家讨
choose
论。
some best
那接下
questions
来呢，
to
我想
answer and
请
share the
国政
answers
治
with
和
all
能
of
源
us.
转型
So
的
next,
中国区
may I
总
give the
裁
floor
涂建军先生
to
做本
Agora
会议开
China's,
场致辞。
CEO Kevin Tu. Well, thank you very much, Zhou Yang.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning or good afternoon, depending on whether you are from Europe or China. My name is Kevin Tu. I am the Managing Director of Agora Energy Transition China. Please excuse me for speaking in Chinese from now on. 各位来自中国的嘉宾，大家下
Distinguished
午好。
guest from
各
China,
位
good
来自
afternoon.
于欧洲
And
的理事
distinguished
先生，
guests,
大
ladies
家
and
下午好。
gentlemen from
我是
European
国政治
region,
和能
good
源转
morning.
型中国
I am
区之类
Kevin
的涂建
Tu,
军。
in
今天在
charge
场的
of
所有的
Agora
全国代
China,
表，
Agora Energy
我们
Transition
会的第
China.
三家
And
研讨会的
hereby,
开
on
发，
behalf of the
国
three
政治会议、
co-hosts, Agora
俄能
China,
源转型论坛
Agora
以及
Energiewende,
能源基金
and
联合会
Energy
做今天的
Foundation
开场致
China.
辞。由于我正在中国
To
最大的产煤
hereby, I
厂
want to give
山
you
西省
a
的进
you
口
know
市场
uh
参加一个关
opening
于国有
remark.
煤化
I'm
工
now
行
in
业
the
技
Jincheng
术创
City,
新大会。
in
今天
Shanxi
我出
to
席现场
attend
参
a
会。
technical
本
innovation
次中欧
conference
对
for
话是
chemical
中欧两煤
co-chemical
炭产
industries.
区
I'm
公正
sorry to
转
be here
型
with you
研究
online.
项目的内
And
容
this
计划。
time, our
在
dialogue
这个内部
actually
研究项目之
is one
下，
of the
我们
contents
已
of
经举
our
办过了
research
中欧对话
program.
会、
In this program,
上
actually,
一
we
次
have
的中
had
欧对话
two
主要谈及了
China-Europe
煤炭产
dialogues.
区的
And
就
last
业
time
问
we
题。
focused on the
本次
jobs
中欧气候
creation
对
in
话
coal
内容
regions. And this
煤炭
time
产
we
区经济
choose a
结构形成
topic
多元
of
化。
economic
山西
diversifications.
和波
And
兰都是我
Shanxi
们
and
项目的主要研
Poland
究对象
are
之
the
一。
major
对话
research
我们还邀请到
targets of us.
波兰
And
驻外的
therefore, we
欧洲
have
其他主要地
invite
区的代表团会。
representatives from other coal-producing
这
regions
次对
in
话
Europe.
举行期间，我们非
During
常荣
this
幸能
dialogue,
请
we
到
are so
3位于
honored
煤炭产
to
区
talk
领先
with
的世
experts
界各
who
地的
have
专家，
been
他们
committed to
来自于
research
煤
on
炭产区的
coal-producing
非政府
regions and
组织， 有
transitions
些来自
for
于各地
years.
方
Some
负
of
责执
them
行
are
转型项
from
目的企
NGOs
业者，
there,
专
some
业的
are
煤炭产区
practitioners leading
转
local
型发
economic
展的管理
transitions,
人员。
and some are
这次我
managers
们还非常荣
managing
幸
the
请到
transition of
英
coal
国驻
regions.
华大
At the
使馆
same time,
能
we're
源
so
部的负
honored
责人
to
来谈
have
一谈
the chief
英国
of
很多的
energy
关于对这
division
个煤电厂
of British Embassy in
1882 年
China,
美
and
国
he or
将领
she will
在
talk
伯海
about
赛伊
their
森
close of the
在
last
伦敦
coal
启动了
plant in
全球第一
UK.
台
In
光力发电厂。
1882, Thomas Edison of
就
the
在
United
1个月
States
前，英
started
国
the
刚
first
刚颁布
coal-fired
该国
power
最后一
plant
个煤电
in
厂
London.
结束了
And
长达
then 1 month
170
ago,
万年
the
的
UK
这个
closed the
燃煤发
last
电的历
coal
史。
plant, ending in the history of coal power generation of 142 years. Let's come back to China. China is the largest coal producer, coal consumer, consuming over 50% of above of coal around the world. China has made the carbon peaking and carbon neutrality goals by 2030 and 60s respectively. Therefore, China is increasing renewable installation. By the end of June this year, we have installed hydropower of 427 million kilowatts, wind power 467 million kilowatts, PV 714 million kilowatts, biomass 45.3 million kilowatts. In the total PV and the wind is more than coal installation. At the same time, China is approving, coal units. Even recently, we have the heating and hot discussion on the coal chemicals. Coal to oil, coal to gas, coal to elephant, coal to ethylene glycol are the representations of the modern, coal chemical, and they are emitting around 3% of China's carbon emission. This time in Jincheng, I'm so surprised to see around 500 participants. Therefore, if we want to have clean energy transition, we do not only to transit the development, transportation, and consumption of coal, and we need to ensure the transition of the whole coal supply chain and ensure the stability of the coal-producing regions. Therefore, how to make it in China, in Europe, in other regions with the economic diversification is very valuable for global coal just transition. Hereby, I'm very glad to see you here in this workshop. May I wish you a very fruitful discussion and want to listen to your insights. Thank you very much.
谢谢杜老师。
Thank you, Kevin.
好的，接下来我们进入第一个
Next,
环
let's
节，
come to
能源领域
the
的经济多
first
元化。
session, the economic diversification
山西
in
呢 是
energy
中国最主要的
sectors.
产煤区，
Shanxi actually is
每
the
年
most
山西
important
的煤
coal-producing
炭产
region
量
every
占
year,
全国的
produces
产量大约
around
是1/4。
1/4
山西的
of
吕梁
the
市
China's
呢，
total, and the Luliang city in
非
Shanxi
常著
province
名的
is
优质
also
焦煤的生产
famous
地。
for coke.
在去年
And
的
then
经
last
济增
year,
速里面，
the
吕梁市的
GDP
这个
actually
GDP 的增速是
witnessed
排名
it
山西
increased
省的第3名，所以经济状况看上去还是
at
不
the
错的。
third place in
接下来
Shanxi
呢，
province.
我
So we
们
see
来
the
看一下吕
economic
梁市
development is
如何
relatively
基于
good.
自身
The
的能
next, I
源
want
基
to
础，
see
来
how
做多
can
元
this
化
Luliang
的
city to
选择。
diverse
下面
their
我邀
economy
请
based on
山
their
西科
coal
城的王雅
economy
婷女
origin
士
and the
来
coal
做吕
foundation.
梁
To
的
make
案
it the
例分
floor
析。
to
谢
Mrs.
谢。
Wang
谢谢。
Yating, research assistant in Shanxi Co-Share Innovation Institute of Energy and Environment.
各位专家、同仁和朋友们，大家下午
Distinguished
好。
guests,
非常
experts,
荣
my
幸
dear
能够受邀
colleagues,
参
good
加此次
afternoon. It's a
关
great
于能
honor
源公
to
正转
be
型的
here
多
on
边
the
交流
economic
会，来和大家分
diversifications
享关于
and
山西省
also
吕
it's a
梁
great
市
honor to
能源
share
行业
with
转
you
型发展新
what
能
we
的一
have
些实践
done
探索。
in developing
那么提到
hydrogen
吕梁市，大家可
in
能会
Luliang
感到有一
City.
些陌生，觉得这个
Maybe
城市可
you
能存在
do
感
not
不是那么
know the
强。
city,
那么大家手头上可
and
能现在有
also
一些资
here
料，然后上面
maybe
有
you
一些
can
吕梁市的一
read
些基本情
something
况。
and
所以在
the
这里，
brief introduction of the
这个背
Luliang
景页我就
City.
不再赘
So I
述了。
just want to,
那么如果平常有朋
skip
友
this
在闲
part.
暇的时候小酌一
And
杯的话，也会
sometime,
想
if you want
到
to
吕
drink a
梁市是
little,
汾酒的
you
产
will
地。
know that
那么因
Luliang is
为
the
吕梁市的地
production
形是
base
以山地
for
为
the
主的，山区
Fenju
和半
liquor.
山区的面
It
积占
is
到了国土
the
面积的近
mountains,
92%，
Cozy
所以
Mountains
酒
account
业也
for
成为了当地的支柱
92%
产业之
of
一。
the
那么
landscape
除了
there
此
in
之外，
Luliang.
吕
So
梁
liquor
市还
industry
是
is
山西省
supporting
的一个重
industry,
要的
and
煤炭城
also
市。那么
Luliang
在22
produce
年的时
coal.
候，吕梁市的煤炭
In
产量在山西
2022, the
省是
coal
位居第4
production
的。
ranked
那
fourth
么可
in
以看到，
Shanxi province.
这个城市的支柱产
Moreover,
业
you
主
can
要还
see
是
the
聚焦
Peter
在了
industry
农业、酒业以
are
及新能源行
agriculture,
业。
liquor
它的支柱
production,
产业的
and
种类还是比
also
较匮乏的，这
energy
也导致它
sectors,
对于外来
etc.
投资和
And
人口的吸
therefore,
引力是
it is
相
not
对有
so
限的，
attractive
并
for
且这个
people
城市在近10
outside.
年常住
And
人口规模
also,
是持
we
续
are
下滑
seeing
的。
the
那么在
dropping of
2023 年的
residents'
时候，
population.
吕梁市的人均可支配收入
and also the disposable income of Luliang ranked last in Shaanxi province, around 68% of the national average, and therefore it depends so heavily on coal industry. However, in developing its energy sector, Luliang City also has demonstrated some new features. For example, we produce a lot of coke. 1/4 of coke of Shaanxi produced in here, and also it is the largest regional base for coal. And then also it has around 10 million ton, coal chemical industry. And then it is the second largest non-conventional natural gas producing, around 30 million cubic meter production per year. So Luliang actually have a huge resources of coke, and it is used coke to produce hydrogen because this production is very cheap. And therefore, Luliang City actually want to make full use of its coal resource to develop some hydrogen industry. In the past, we just exhaust this, waste exhaust, and then it is a waste of resources. And also here now we make hydrogen, and then they can be used for some clean industries. For example, hydrogen-driven trucks are transporting coal, and then they helped, local coal companies to reduce their footprint. For example, in 2022, 100 heavy-duty trucks by hydrogen were used by a leading, company of coal there, and then it tried to reduce around 1 million ton CO2 produced per year. But actually, Luliang's production and transition is supported by government at different levels. So in 2022, Shaanxi province regarded the hydrogen industry as one of the first 10 key industry chains. And then we try to produce different kinds of hydrogen-related products. And at present, when we have three, the chain host companies, and for example, Shanxi, Xiaoyi, Pengfei, Meijing, etc. We have visited a lot of them, and we see, some of the coal chemical companies can produce these products easily, and then in their industrial parks, you can use this kind of electric bikes driven by hydrogen. And the last one is a heavy-duty vehicle driven also by hydrogen. It can run as long as 600 kilometers. In this development, firstly, we have a production plan, industrial plan. We set up a special team for leadership. Moreover, the government departments, try to set up some industrial parks, and also we're encouraging several flagship companies like Pengfei, like Meijin, etc. We will know the feedback of the companies. Hydrogen industry is in its infancy, and therefore it is enjoying financial support. Therefore, Luliang have set up the special fund of around 100 million RMB to support this industry, particularly the demonstration of hydrogen vehicles. And if you have, heavy-duty vehicles heavier than 180,000 kilograms, and then you have enjoyed a lot of subsidies. And this year we are issuing some new policies for supporting this industry. We also expand the coverage of the favorable policies. Then the heavy-duty vehicles and can enjoy cheaper charges for the expressways, or they can receive some subsidies for their traveling. What about refueling? For every kilogram of hydrogen, 5 RMB were cut because they enjoy the subsidies. And therefore, you see, hydrogen now is very promising. Even at the county level, we have the industrial fund around 5 billion RMB We try to help this industry to grow bigger. So what about companies' efforts? Just now I talked about the flagship companies, and then they are cooperating with financial institutions to find some private capital.
那么这里比如说鹏飞与中商
For
共同成立
example,
了氢
we
能产
have
业
just
股份投
jointly
资基金，
constructed
与
an
新能证
equity
券共同
fund
成立了
in
山西
order
新镇鹏飞
to
新动能基金
facilitate
等
the
等。
development of hydrogen, in particular the special
那么
funds
从
for
上面可以
hydrogen
看到，
energy
吕梁
industry.
市氢能的发展
And
实际
from
上是离
these,
不
we can
开
see that
各级
the
政府的合力支
development
持，
of
以及多
Luliang
元化的
cannot
一
be
些资金的投
separated
入。
from diverse
那么在
funds
山西省
input and the
2023
support
年
of
新
the
能产业
local
发展指数
government.
中显示，
In
山西省氢能发
2023,
展是
the
高于全
hydrogen
国的一个平
energy
均水
industry
平，并
development
且在全
index
国
for
重
each
点发
city
展
in
氢能的地
Shanxi
区中位居
province
第2名。 那么在省内，吕梁
is
市
listed
的
here,
氢能
and
产业发
Luliang
展综合指数
ranked
又位
first
居
in
全省
Shanxi
第1。
province in
那
the
么在
comprehensive
制氢
index
的一
of
些原
hydrogen
料
energy
原料
industry
层面，以
development.
及
For the raw
加
materials
氢
of
站的数
producing
量、
hydrogen
燃料
and
汽
the
车的推广层
hydrogen
面，以
gas
及政策
stations,
支持力度和
the
产业链完
support
善等
and
单项指
the
标上均位于
improvement
全
of
省的前
supply
列。
chain all
那么
rank
当
the
前吕梁市
first
也形成
in
了
the
超过7
province
万吨的这样一个
concerning
制氢
the
能力，包
current
括10
conditions
座的
of
加氢站。
Luliang.
那么
And
这个布局也是占到了全
this
省的近一
layout
半。
has also
那么虽
accounted
然吕
for
梁
around
市
a
氢能
half
产业
of
目
the
前
entire
取得了一些成就，但也不
volume
能
of the
否认，目
province.
前氢能
But
行
we
业仍
cannot
然处于一
deny
个
that the
探索的阶
hydrogen
段，用
industry
的
is
成
still
本
in
还
the
是比较
process
高
of
的。那么
exploration
在
and the cost is very high.
储氢和运氢的技术方
In
面，
the
都
storage
在
and
不断地进行
transporting
迭代和优
of
化。那么
hydrogen,
相
we're
关的
now
标准体系
upgrading
和管
and the
理体系
relevant
也随着
standards
行业不
and
断成熟，
management
仍在摸
criteria
索
are
中。那么
maturing
当
from time
前
to
吕
time.
梁市内的比如说刚刚提到的氢能重卡
Right now,
已经走
the
出了
hydrogen
企业
trucks,
的工业园区，
as we've
实现
mentioned,
了省
have
内考试的
already
这样一个运
gone
行。
out
但是
of
整
the
体上
industrial parks and
运用
being
氢能重卡的
operated
运
on
煤
the
的成
provincial
本
level.
也是比
But
原有的
the
一些原
cost
有的
of
这种燃
using
油型的
hydrogen is
煤
still
汽车的成
greater
本还是偏
than
高的，
using the
因此现在
vehicles
就是
with
跨省
traditional
的运
fuels.
用氢
So
能
right
重
now,
卡进行运煤还是比
cross-provincial
较
heavy
少的。
trucks using hydrogen are still
那么
very
可以
few
看
in
到，
terms
吕
of
梁
volume.
市是已
And
经
we
踏
can
入了
see
氢能
here
发展的
that
这条道
Luliang
路，
has
但如果
already
想要在这
entered
条
the
道路上
transition
走得
phase
更
of
远，那么
hydrogen
还是要付
development.
出一些
And
更
if
多的
we
努
need to
力。
go
那么
further,
首
we
先
need
第一
to
点
spend
是，
more efforts.
吕梁市
Firstly,
当前还
Luliang
没有纳入国家燃料电池汽车的示范城市群，这
has
也导致
been
它在
set
发展
as
过
the
程中错失了
demonstration
一些
and
国家
pilot
政策的
zone.
支持。
And
那
in
么
many
一些
cases,
纳入这个示范群的城市，比如说上海市、
government
北京市，
support
可以
has
将
not fully
国家的
reached.
补贴资金和本地的补贴资金进行
And
1
we
比1
need
的这样一个配
to
套。那
have
么
the
单个的氢能
central
车辆
and
的补贴资金可以
provincial
达到约110万元。
subsidy
那么
ranging
这与
a
吕梁市
proportion
单
of
个
1
市
to
能拿出来
1.
的补贴资金相比，还是更具有诱
And
惑力的。
compared
那么所
with
以一
the
些车也选择在
subsidy
这些省
provided
市
by
进
Luliang
行挂牌
local
活动。
government, it
所以
is
说，吕
very
梁市未来还需要继续的去
advantageous.
积极的
So
争
in the
取一些
future,
国家
we
政策
need
的支
to
持。那
gain
么
more
另一个方
national
面，
support.
可以
On
从
the
左
other
侧的
hand,
表格中看到，吕
we
梁市
can
当前
see
布局的一些氢能项目中，
on the
除
right
了我们
side
刚刚提到
that
的
apart
工
from
业
the
副产氢这样一种制氢方式，其实在
hydrogen
我们
production
常说的运
models,
氢方面有一些比较
in
积极的
green
探索，
hydrogen,
比
we
如说
also
其
have
中
done
提到
many
的风
explorations.
光电
For
制氢，还有
example,
天然液
in
化铁
wind
氦制氢
power,
等等。那么在吕梁市的
photovoltaic
氢能产业
power,
发展规
and
划中有
hydrogen
提及，
production,
那么现在到2025年，
the
吕梁
Luliang
市氢能发
industrial
展仍然
layout
处于一
has
个
referred to
试点示
these,
范的阶段。
but it is
那么
still
到
in the phase of
2035
demonstration.
年，主要的制氢方
By
式
the
将
year
由工业副产
2035,
副产氢
hydrogen
逐步的转向
production
可再
will
生能源制氢为
gradually
主。那么面
shift
对这样的转
to
变，及早准确地定位
producing
长期发展
hydrogen
的一
with
些优势，
renewable
对于吕
energy.
梁市
So
来
we
说也
need
是非
to
常
have
关键
early
的。
and precise positioning of long-term
那么在
development
吕梁市发展
advantages.
氢能的过程中，对于其他的一些资源型地区也具
For
有
other
一定的经验和
resource-intensive
教训。
regions,
那么
there
首
are
先
some
第一点是，
implications.
应当注重能源龙头企业在新兴
First,
产
we
业布
need
局中
to
的一些前瞻性的作用。
ensure that leading
那么
energy
从
enterprises
下方的
are
时间轴可以
introducing
看出，
cutting-edge
那么吕梁
industries
市
with
内2
foresight.
家氢能的龙
The
头企
two
企业
major
美景和鹏飞，分别于2017年
hydrogen
和2019
production
年已经开始布局蓄能，
enterprises,
并且制
namely
定了企业
Longjing
内部的
and
一个氢能
Pengfei,
发展的规
have
划。
already set
那么
out the
这其实是早
hydrogen
于
energy
粮食
industry
界
plan.
关于氢能政策集中发布的一个时间段的。那么，当地龙头企业，
And the local
更早的去布局这样一些前
cutting
端的
edge
产业，对于当地
enterprises
的一些
have set
前
an
瞻性政策的出
industrial
台也是起
layout,
了非常好的一个先导作用。那么第二
providing
点经
a
验在于
pilot
加强本地与
influence.
国外省外一些地区的
On
行
the
业交
other
流和
hand,
互
we
动。
need to
那么
strengthen
李阳是
the
龙头企业在
interprovincial
蓄
and
能布局的过程
intraprovincial
中，
exchanges.
发展氢能的契机也与这一点是有联系的。
And
那比如
seizing the
说
opportunity
当
of
这个腾飞
developing
企业就是在
hydrogen
于一家
is
美国企业进行交流的
inconsistent.
时候，
For
发现了
example,
氢能这一个赛道，
through the
并且将它
exchanges
逐步演
with an
变为企
American
业内
enterprise,
着重
Hengfei
布局
has
的
found the path
新
of
板块之
developing
一。
hydrogen and
但
set
是
it
我们也应
as
当
an
注意到，
important
在
sector
转型
in
中
the
是应
new
当把握
industry
到先
plan.
机的。那么一些城市，比如
But
说
we need to
河口
seize
市、张
the
家口市等
pioneering
等，他
opportunities.
们
For
的布局
example, in
是
Hukou
对于氢
City
能的布局
and
是比较靠
Zhangjiakou
前的。
City,
那么分
they
别在
are
18和19
among
年
the
的时候就已
forefront
经发布了城
of
市的氢能发展规划。
laying
那么
out
这些城
hydrogen
市
development
对于氢
plans.
能的发
So
展为
these
吕梁市
cities
提供了一些先行先
have
试的经
provided
验。
some pilot
但是与此相
experience
比，
for the
吕梁市
development
在
of
22
hydrogen
年才
in
集中
Luliang
发布
City.
氢能的一些
But
专项的政
it
策，
was
其
not
实是
until
比较相对滞后的。
2022 that
那么
Luliang
在国家
City
2021
has
年开
developed
始启动
some
燃
local
料汽车试验
regulations
场
on
的时候，
hydrogen
吕
development.
梁市也
So
错失
when
了
China
这个国家政
started
策的
to
一个利好的时
implement
机，从
the
而错失了国家政
hydrogen
策对
plan,
于这些城市
Luliang
在
City
资
missed
金、基
again
础设施
the
建设以
best
及市场
stage
推
for
广等方面的
developing
一些政策
hydrogen,
和资源的倾斜，
as
那
well
么
as
其实也是非
some
常可惜
support
的。
of resources and
那么以
policies
上就是关于吕梁
on
市发展
market
氢能的
access
一些
and market
探
shares.
索的一些
These
思
are
考
some
吧。
of the
那么对于
experiences
吕
of
梁市这
Luliang
样一个
City.
籍籍无名的
And
城市，
for
能够
such a
从
city,
原有比较熟悉的能源行业入手，运
we
用它目
can
前
set
所积
out
累的一些资源优
from
势，
an energy
从
industry
而
and
寻
use
找更加绿色、低碳以及前瞻的一些
the
新兴产业
more
的一些契机，
green and
从而树立一些城市的
sustainable
一些金字
patterns
招牌。跳
to
脱
set
煤炭
up
的桎梏，
our
其
brands
实是这些城
and
市
to
实现转型非
break
常关键的一
the
环。那
barriers
么也非
of
常感
coal.
谢本次会议，
And I would like to
本次
thank
交流
our
会能
host
够让更
again
多人
for
和更
giving
多的
us
企业
this
看到，
opportunity.
对于这样一个以往的煤炭城市，可以发展氢能这样的新兴产业，
And
也
we
会
can
为
make
它
use
未来
of
带
this
来更多的
hydrogen
一些发展的
industry
可能性。
to
谢谢大
bring
家。
about more development opportunities. Thank you.
十分感谢雅婷的分享。
Thank you for
那
your
么接
sharing.
下来呢，我们的一个案例是来自英国。
Next,
上
we
个
would
月，
like to
大家
have
也
a
应该
case
都知道，
sharing
英
from
国
the
关闭
UK.
了他们
We
最
know
后
that
一
the
家燃煤
UK
电
has
厂，
just
它的就
shut
是
down the
位于
last
诺丁汉
coal-fired
郡的
power
斯万河畔
station
的
in Nottingham.
拉特克里夫火电厂。
It was
今
named
天
the
我们非常
Ratcliffe
幸运的请到
Power
了英
Station,
国驻华大使
and
馆
we
能
were
源部门
very
的负责
honored
人
to
陈
have
思
with
源先
us
生。
Mr. Benjamin
接下来
Xing,
我
Head
们
of
请他来
Energy
为我们做
from
这
the
个
British
案例的分
Embassy,
享。
Beijing, to provide us with the case sharing. The floor is yours.
Okay, so 谢谢大家。那今天我特别荣幸
Very much. It's a great honor for me
我很
to
高
come
兴
here,
能谈谈
and
英
I'm
国
very
能源
glad
转型的一
to
个
talk about the
特别
energy
重要的
transition
时刻。
in
这
the
就
UK.
是我们的煤炭淘
And
汰。
currently, we are
For
in
those
a
English
very
speakers in the audience,
important
I'm honored to be here today to
stage.
speak to you a little bit about a really important moment in the UK's energy transition, and that is the endpoint of our coal phase-out journey. Now, exactly 1 month ago, on the 30th of September, the UK's last coal power plant, Ratcliffe on Soar in the East Midlands, ceased operation. So this completes the UK's coal phase-out and makes Britain the first major economy, the first major G7 country to stop burning coal for electricity. Now, the UK has a really long history with coal, no one longer actually. Coal has provided power to the people of our country since 1882, when the world's first coal-burning power plant opened at Holborn Viaduct. We've relied on coal power for over 140 years, and it's my belief that the UK's experience demonstrates that rapid coal phase-outs are possible and could be replicated internationally. Now, let me repeat this in Chinese. 我真的相信英国的经验表明
I believe that the UK's experience has shown that rapid phase-out is feasible and that the pattern can be replicated in the international community.
Now, like China, the UK is rich in coal, which has been used in small quantities for centuries. Now, things only truly began to change with the advent of steam power. I just want you to have a quick look at this. 142 years ended. Now, coal use surged initially during the steam age, helping to power the UK's industrial revolution, the spread of an overseas empire, and also a major increase in global CO2 emissions. In the middle of the 20th century, coal dominated many of the major sectors of the UK economy. We're talking steel production, industrial processes, domestic heating, the production of gas for lighting and cooking, railway transport, as well as fuel for electricity generation. Coal became the bedrock of our electricity in the UK. 70 years ago, just a few years after World War II, in 1952, coal provided 96% of the UK's electricity. So it provided practically all of our electricity in the UK not that long ago. The way the UK's industrial revolution unfolded, coal was absolutely pivotal for Britain to develop into the world's first industrial economy in the 19th century. The steel industry was powered by coal, and over the late 18th and certainly in the first half of the 19th century, Britain became a coal power economy. It was the world's first coal-fired economy. 所以我用中文重复一下，从英国工业革命的发展历程来看，煤炭对英国
，Judging from the historical development of the UK, coal and firepower have played an irreplaceable role in the UK's industrial revolution, providing power in the 19th century and the former 20th century. The UK gradually became a major coal country, becoming an independent economy pivoted upon coal.
Achieve this coal phase out. Now, coal use began to be driven down significantly in the second half of the 20th century. Now, you can see a number of factors listed here. But the fact is that although we made progress, we struggled to push coal's share of electricity generation below 50%. In 1990, again, not long ago, despite significant growth in other forms of stable electricity generation like nuclear capacity, coal still made up 65% of the UK's energy mix. So in 1990, still 65% of the UK's energy mix. What really moved our phase out along were two separate stages. Now, the first stage is what we call the dash for gas of the 1990s, when the UK began to shift to gas-fired generation from the North Sea. And the second stage, one that I think is especially relevant to China, is the build-out of renewables and the implementation of policies to make coal plants pay for the level of pollution that they were emitting. Now, major UK government policies aimed at accelerating the transition from coal started in 2001 and included key elements like directives limiting large-scale combustion plants, an emissions trading system, and new energy performance standards. Now, at the same time, the UK energy system changed in ways that facilitated a coal phase-out. First, like I said, we replaced coal with gas. Then, with renewables, especially offshore wind. Our system also became more energy efficient, which was hugely important. So new energy efficiency regulations helped to bring down the UK's overall electricity demand. But I personally think one element that was really crucial was that the UK government signaled early on, far earlier than most other developed economies, that it wanted to get rid of coal, giving industry, giving companies, giving businesses time to prepare for the transition. So in October 2008, the UK passed the Climate Change Act, which included a legally binding target to cut greenhouse gas emissions. And then in 2009, our Minister for Energy and Climate, at that time Ed Miliband, who is now again the Minister for Energy and Climate, announced that no new coal plants would be built in the UK without carbon capture and storage. So he made a firm commitment on that back in 2009. And it's easy to miss now how significant these commitments were at that time. So at that time, other major developed countries were actually building new coal-fired power plants, just as the UK said, we're not going to do that anymore. Now, all of this led to some major successes. By 2016, coal power had dropped sharply all the way down to 9% of electricity generation in the UK. 2016 also witnessed the first hour with no coal power at all since 1882. And this was followed the next year by the first full day, 2 years after that by the first full month without coal, and then finally in 2020, that first month again. Now, by 2020, we brought coal down to just 1.8% of our electricity mix. So 2016, again, we're at 9%. 2020, 1.8. The government therefore decided at that time that what we need to do is bring forward our coal phase-out target, so be even more ambitious. Let's get rid of it more quickly. October 2024, that was the date that was set to shut down the last coal power plant in the UK. Now, throughout that period, 2020 to 2024, coal power plants began to close, or continued to close, as shown in the map that you can see here. In late 2023, the UK's second last coal-fired power station, Kilroot, in Northern Ireland, stopped generating electricity from coal, leaving just one power plant remaining, and that power plant was Ratcliffe on Soar. Now, let's talk a bit about the challenges of closing this power plant. And since construction, Ratcliffe has produced a huge amount of energy, enough energy to make more than 21 trillion cups of tea. That's the metric we would use in the UK in any case. And its 2 gigawatt capacity is enough to power 2 million homes and businesses, equivalent to the entire East Midlands region. So the entirety of the region that this power plant sits in could have been powered by that one plant. Now that the site has been closed, it will go through a decommissioning process, which is expected to last around 2 years before the site can be handed over to a demolition contractor. Now, such a large power plant's closure, of course, presents major challenges. Let's have a quick look at what these challenges are and what our government is doing to support the process. Now, first of all, the UK government is working closely with Uniper, the utility company that runs Ratcliffe. Ratcliffe has received a local development order from the government, which is an initiative to fast-track green investment and jobs. It'll make it faster to bring in new investment, to bring in new jobs. And it is a key part of a government initiative called the East Midlands Freeport Area, which will also help to secure jobs and opportunity for the community. Both the UK government and the generation company, Uniper, are engaging with the local community regularly throughout this process to ensure that the transition is fair and just and supports the communities and workers who've contributed so significantly to our country. Now, most of the current workforce at Ratcliffe will remain employed at the site until it is decommissioned and transformed for the future. And looking ahead, measures are in place to support staff. Some will retire, many will be redeployed within Uniper, within the company itself, or some will take voluntary redundancy. Now, I know that the focus here today is really on case studies, but I want to reassure you that at an international level, the UK remains committed to supporting coal phase-out around the world and climate finance efforts. So we've launched the PPCA, the Powering Past Coal Alliance with Canada, in 2017 at COP23. And since then, it's grown to over 180 members with representation on every continent. Now, we're very aware of our responsibility as a pioneer of coal power, and will continue to be a leading contributor to international climate finance. That includes supporting nature and forests, funding for climate adaptation, and so forth. Now, let me finish off by giving you a bit of a snapshot of the future of UK energy. Now, since taking office this summer, in July, the new UK government has announced a commitment to fully decarbonise our power system by 2030. That means that in the next 5 to 6 years, we have to remove all remaining fossil fuel from our electricity system. Now, how are we going to do that? It's not long. Well, first of all, we need to phase out gas, which will also mean massively increasing renewables. Gas right now is about 22% of our electricity mix, with renewables roughly around 50%. The government has set targets to quadruple our offshore wind capacity, triple solar deployment, and more than double onshore wind. At the same time, we're also investing heavily in our infrastructure to ensure that the grid can run securely on predominantly variable renewable generation from wind and solar. We're increasing our grid-scale battery storage, something that China is very, very good at, and pioneering the use of advanced technology like synchronous condensers to provide voltage stability in the system. Now, I think to summarize, I'd say that there are 4 elements that enabled the UK coal phase-out that I think are useful to share. The first was building alternative sources of electricity generation in sufficient quantities to meet and then exceed electricity demand growth. The second was stopping the construction of new coal-fired power plants. Seems simple, but it's actually quite difficult. The third is internalizing externalities via policies and regulations so that coal plants face the cost of the air pollution and greenhouse gas emissions that they generate. And the fourth is sending clear political signals that market actors can work towards, giving the market time to adjust. Now, Great Britain's coal phase-out shows that rapid transitions away from coal power are indeed possible. Like I said, we are the first major economy now to have stopped burning coal for power. We've reduced coal's share of our electricity supply from around a third to zero in the space of 10 years. And now we've committed to decarbonizing our power sector by 2030. And I know that our Secretary of State, our Energy Minister, has said clearly that we want to share our lessons. We want to share the lessons that we've learned from our coal to clean energy transition journey with our international partners, including with China. It's been an incredibly long and often very challenging road. 谢谢大家. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Benjamin. Thank you very much for sharing. Next, make the floor to another guest. We were supposed to invite our guests for Shanxi Tongchuan's situation. Unfortunately, Madam Hui Jiejie actually, were quite busy with some personal affairs. I'm sorry, we cannot hear the stories of Tongchuan Shanxi. Actually, this case is very interesting. Well, Shanxi actually is one of the top 4 coal-producing provinces, and Tongchuan is a city running up its coal resources, exhausting its coal, and therefore its transition actually starting from now on is very late. More than 10 years ago, the city tried transition for the first time to develop some aluminum electrolysis, and then a lot of mining workers were re-employed by such a aluminum industry. Some job challenges were solved, and also the economy were maintained in a stable way, because aluminum electrolysis need a huge volume of the energy. It used self-owned coal-powered plant, and then after running out of coal, it had to imported some coal from other provinces to produce electricity. Right now, no, it used its local coal to produce very cheap electricity. And now, Dongchuan's economy and also its job creation are relatively, good. And also our expert tried to analyze this story, because this story was not sustainable in the future. If they have no coal to use, and then they need to import coal to produce electricity, and then the electricity tariff will be higher and higher. And we know that the electrolysis of aluminum actually, is covered by CBAM, by European Union, and then China exports a lot of aluminum to the EU, and CBAM, will charge more, on that industry, and therefore the CO2 cost will be added to the aluminum we produce. So we see this industry will not enjoy sustainable growth in the future if they follow the Tongchuan way. And next, let's have a look at another story from Greece. By the end of 2019, Greece became the first country to declare the date for phasing out coal in the Balkans. And then in the West, Macedonia. Actually, this region is, having a support from the European Union for its energy transition or phasing out of coal. And then we are glad to have, Mr. Nicholas Natavos and also his team And that he is running an NGO, a nonprofit platform. They try to unite the stakeholders to support the innovation and the low carbon transition in the local community. So next time I give the floor to Mr. Antavos to share with us their story in Greece.
Thank you. Thank you for the participating here, and I'm glad that we are in such a wonderful dialogue for just transition. Let me just share my presentation, and I will start. Hello from our part. I'm coming from Greece, from the region of Western Macedonia, which is a northwest part of Greece, and I'm the co-founder and manager of Klube, which is a regional innovation cluster owned by economy, energy, and environment. You can see the orange dot over there in the northwest part of Greece, in southeast Europe. This is the region of Western Macedonia. It is the only landlocked region of Greece, so nothing when you think of Greece of islands, sea, this is nothing on the region of Western Macedonia. We are a mountainous region with cold and harsh winters. So with a population of around 300,000 people, split it in 13 municipalities with a declining GDP, regional, and with a huge unemployment rate, one of the largest in Greece, and among youth, one of the largest in Europe. We used to produce more than 60% of the total electricity of the country, and this through lignite, through low quality coal. As you can see in the first image. In the last 60 years, we had more than 6 power plants and 4 major lignite mines that produce the electricity of Greece in a large quantity all over the country, and of course the regional aspects. In 2019, our Prime Minister declared that Greece will be coal free from electricity by 2028. And this was a big decision for us, as you can imagine, and started the process of the transition from coal, from lignite, to other sources. So this emerged a big place, a big quantity of electricity grid that could be taken by renewables. And this started the last 5 to 6 years rising. And nowadays, the lignite energy produced in Greece is less than 10%, and the renewable electricity produced in the area is increasing fast due to land, but also due to the grid, the connections with the rest of the country, but also with North Macedonia, Albania, and Bulgaria. So what is coming next, and what we thought as an opportunity, is that after the vast implementation of renewables, we will need storage. We are starting with batteries, and we are starting also with the hydrogen economy. And this just to enhance the just transition era in the area, with a new and sustainable production model for the region, and with a low carbon society promoting mainly technical innovation. But let me say a few things about my organization. We were initially founded in 2014 as a bioeconomy and environment cluster, more focused on the bioenergy and energy sector and the biomass sector. We are a non-for-profit company. and we were established with a bottom-up approach, starting from the companies of the area, and then moving upwards to other entities. Our main focus is the development of common business and R&D activities in the sectors that I have mentioned, in order to mobilize the resources and to bridge the gap between innovation, research, and entrepreneurship. We are a quintuple helix cluster. We started with the 3 helixes, and now we have the 5. So we have members from the public sector, our regional government, our regional association of municipalities, and other entities. We have R&D members, the local University of Western Macedonia, but also some other research centers. We have, of course, entrepreneurship, various SMEs from all the sectors that we are dealing for, but we also have environmental and social organizations. These have, let's say, the complete ecosystems in the sectors that we are dealing for. We have more than 60 members nowadays in the area, but we also have a huge network around Europe that will collaborate in different fields, in innovation, in bioeconomy, in bio-based industries, in hydrogen, in different areas that we are dealing for. These are the projects that we implement. Let's say the major part of our economic activity is the implementation of R&D projects, either European or national or regional. Most of them are European. And as you can see, we have different sectors that we are dealing. The largest sector is the bioeconomy and social innovation sector. Second largest was the digital transition and climate policies, but we also are strong in clean technologies and hydrogen, and in circular economy and energy savings. Starting with the back in 2019 with the hydrogen technologies, which I would like to be to focus more. We started with let's say big projects, and then was split it apart. We started with the White Dragon project and with big projects, and now we are in the phase of implementing the first, let's say, large-scale projects in our area. This project is the Amindio North 1 project from Hellenic Hydrogen. Hellenic Hydrogen is a joint venture of the Public Power Corporation, the biggest energy producer in Greece, and Motor Oil, one of the biggest refineries also in Greece. And they are utilizing an already decommissioned coal plant in Aminteo to be modified, let's say, and be next to it they will have an electrolyzer, and they will supply hydrogen, green hydrogen, to the area. The first phase of the electrolyzers will be 50 megawatt, and it will start operating by 2028. This is a second project that was announced just a few days ago. 2 projects actually from the EU Innovation Fund, with Sunlight and Advent Technologies implementing this project in Western Macedonia through the Innovation Fund, through the EU Innovation Fund. The one is about battery cells, and the other one is about high temperature hydrogen PEM fuel cells, but also electrolyzer systems. Something that what we are trying to do, we are trying to mobilize also EU policies, but also EU funding. So we have different EU policies. I will not say more about this, but we have, let's say, the European Green Deal, which is the major policy of the EU in order to be climate neutral by 2050. But also we have other policies like Repower EU with a certain objectives also on hydrogen. And of course we have different initiatives from 50 to 55 from the European Union emission trading system, additional policies to help improve that you see on the right corner of the screen. And of course, with EU policies, we have also the funding policies. Different EU policies like the Innovation Fund that was mentioned before, Modernization Fund, but also different bonds like Life Program, Horizon Europe, that we mainly participate. And of course, we have the member states project through state aid. We have the IPCIs on hydrogen, the important project of common European interest of hydrogen. We have also the 10T corridors and funding opportunities there. And of course, for the transition areas like Western Macedonia, the EU has established the Just Transition Fund for the funding of these specific areas. And of course, we have some blended financing mechanisms, the Connecting Europe facilities, Innovation Fund as already told it, and from other state aid mechanisms funds in Europe. What we are trying to do as a cluster, we are trying to expand our network, and we are trying to go global in order to act local. And this, we are participating, let's say, in projects as a local and regional research case coordinator in order to mobilize the whole ecosystem of the area. From SMEs to R&D systems to the policy organizations. We are performing stakeholder identification and engagement. This is a major part of what we are doing. And of course, we are trying to communicate and disseminate at local, national, and EU level all the results that we have in order to enhance the areas that we are dealing. And of course, we are trying to replicate good cases, best cases around EU and globally in the regional, national, but also international level, with, of course, a special focus on the southeast part of Europe. We have already attracted more than 25.5 million euros and still trying to mobilize the local ecosystem for this challenging just transition phase. Thank you, and I'm at your availability for any questions or.
Thank you very much, Joe. Hello, everybody. Thank you for the three very interesting inputs from China, UK, and Greece. When you think about economic diversification in core regions, you could split it into three different pathways. One being direct and really obvious one is, we also heard this example, transforming coal regions into greener energy locations and replacing coal with other greener alternatives. The second pathway is the in-between pathway, you could say, where energy-related industries that depend on energy industry in a certain way, like, for example, electric mobility industry or research and development to focus on energy. And the third pathway is transforming the core regions to something completely different, like new industries, for example, tourism or agriculture, for example. And what I would like to address are the two first one. So what we heard from the input or from the cases, which is really direct and obvious, is that the transformation of former coal sites always goes with replacing coal into renewable energy locations. And these sites often have wind and solar farms, and some are using then green hydrogen production, or some are coupled with energy storage solutions. And this repurposing leverages, of course, existing infrastructure and utilizes the existing grid infrastructure, which are already in coal sites. But I would like to also address the in-between, the second pathway I just mentioned, and draw a little bit attention to that, which are the indirect energy-related industries. So it's similar to the case from Greece, you could say, because investment in education and research is really one key pillar, really important, because by investing in education and research with a focus on energy-related industries, this can drive innovation. And regions can transform into maybe energy hubs in the future. And here I would like to give an example from Germany, from the rural area in Germany. It already started in the 1960s. And now this area is somehow becoming or is known as a knowledge region. There are around 22 universities and research institutes, and one of them is the Fraunhofer Institute, which was established in the 90s. It started off with only focusing on coal engineering, because back then, at that time, this region, and it is still, but back then it was a major coal region, and it now developed into other fields, more future-oriented fields like material science, chemistry, and still energy. So this is a development you can see which drive innovation. This also goes hand in hand with talent development, meaning collaboration with industries and technical schools, universities, and research institutes. And this can create a steady pipeline of talents, which then can work in these energy fields or in the sustainable sectors. And this brings me to my next point I would like to make about workforce. So to keep these talents in this region, and we heard this already, that the loss of population is going on in some co-regions, and it's important to understand the underlying reason, which can be sometimes not the direct, obvious indicators, like for example that coal wages or the salary of coal workers are higher than maybe the ones in renewable sector. But what I would like to draw attention to are the more softer factors that include the quality of life. For example, leisure time or housing in those coal regions. And therefore, sometimes the hard factors are not only the important ones, but investment in infrastructure in those coal regions, including transportation and leisure facilities, can significantly enhance this quality of life. And also keep or attract talents or people in this region. For instance, in this rural area, historically, it really lacked interconnected transport routes, because back then, when the coal miners worked there, they really didn't need to travel far because they lived near the mines. But the shift to a more diverse economy required improved mobility, and this led to a significant investment in transport infrastructure in this rural area in West Germany. So this is more a focus on the soft factors. Now I would like to go into the governmental support, also taking the case of Germany. So the government provided financial support through legislation, through the Structural Reinforcement Act in Germany, which allocated funds for transitioning coal regions, and this included aid for infrastructure, research and development, and renewable energy projects. And around 40,000 billion euros are coming from the state, and one part of 26 billion euros are managed by the federal government, working in collaboration with the impacted states, so the coal regions. And here they would like to fund environmental protection measures, research programs, also transport infrastructure. And another part of this funding, which is 14 billion euros, are managed directly by the impacted states. And they are used to make investment in business-related infrastructure, also public transportation, the digitalization. And here I would like to highlight that we kind of use the top-down, but also the bottom-up approach, so that the federal government, on the one hand, oversees some projects, but mainly the state and provincial level know best what is needed and can then distribute the existing budget to the coal region. So collaboration on both sides, from the government, but also from the provincial and state level, is really important here. now I would like to conclude. All in all, economic diversification should be seen as a very broad way and include different approaches and include sometimes not only the hard and obvious facts, but also more the softer and indirect factors. Thank you very much. I give back the microphone to Joe.
Thank you very much, Nat. 谢谢娜的
Thank you very much,
我
Na.
非常赞
And
同你
thank you
关
very
于
much.
新
I
资
totally
源的
agree
一
with you.
些
Wholly
建
agree
议。
with
这个
you
对于
on the
尤其是
softer
对于
environment, softer
山西来
factors.
说是
For
非常重
Shanxi,
要
actually,
的。
it is
我
so
们一直
important and
也在
significant.
研
And
究
we
山
have
西
done some
在
research on
高校的
Shanxi's,
教育以
you know,
及研
universities,
发方面的
colleges,
一些
R&D
投入
institutes, and their input.
比较基
And
础的一些数
also,
据显
we
示，在这
have
方面还
find
是有
some
不足的，还
fundamental
是需
statistics. We
要
find the gap.
进
The
一步
investment
的
is not enough.
进步的。在
Therefore,
这
they
方
need to
面。
input
好，
more in
那
education
么
sector.
我现在把
And then
这个机会
now,
交给
I
现
want to
场的
give
观
the
众，看
floor
大家有没
to
有一
the
些什么问
audience.
题。
Any questions from you? The floor is open.
如果没有问题的
If
话，我
you
这
don't
边
have
其实有一
any
个
question,
小
I
小的问
have
题，
prepared
希
one
望提
little
给
question. This
课
little
程的王雅
question
婷。
goes to
刚才你的汇报里
Madam
面
Wang
其实
Yating
讲到
from
了
Shanxi Kecheng Research
像
Institute.
美景
For
鹏飞这样
sharing,
的
you
企
talked
业，
about Meijing and
他
Pengfei,
们都
some
是
flagship companies
在
there.
业务转型
And
方面
then
走
in
到比较
energy
前面的，也
transition,
是
they're
都是
leaders,
民
they're
企。
first
我想请问一
runners,
下，对
and
于
also they're private
山
firms,
西这
right?
样的
So in
就是能
Shanxi,
源企业比较集中的地方，
with
是
a
不
lot
是
of
对于
energy
民企来说，
companies,
他们的业务转
such
型
kind of,
和战略
private
规划
firms
会
in
更灵
their
活一些，在这方
strategic
面会走得
transition
更
and
靠前一
changes,
些。那
are
他
they
们
more
如何通
flexible?
过
How
自己
can
民企的数
they
字来影
use
响
their
政
private
府的
firm
决策呢？
status to affect the decision making of governments?
谢谢杨老师的提问。关于您刚刚提到的民企是否
Thank you, Ms.
更
Yang,
具有一
for
些
the
灵活
question.
性？
And
因为
the
在山西省的话，
flexibility that
现
you
有
have
的煤
mentioned
炭
can
就
be
是省
further
属的国有煤炭
elaborated.
企业
For
是几十
example,
斤，
the
在今年
provincial
经历了2轮的
coal
冲突整合。那
enterprises
么在最
have
近的一次中是在
experienced 2 rounds
2020
of
年左右。
clashes and
那么经过这轮重组整合，最终是形成了
merger
4
and
大的
acquisition,
省
finally
属煤炭
evolving
企业，
into 4 major
并且是
enterprises
把
on
原
the
有的一些这些
Shanxi
煤炭企业
province.
中的非煤的
And
板块剥离
the
出来，从
non-coal
而让这
sectors
4
have
家的
been
省属煤炭企业更加的聚焦于
forged
他们
out
的煤
of
炭的
the
主业板
initial
块。因
enterprises
此这也
to
就
form a
造
sector
就了现在
of
山
pure
西省
coal.
属煤炭
So
企业
right
其实
now,
对
the
于
provincial
煤炭以外的板
enterprises
块其实是不
focusing on
太有
coal
涉
in
及，因为
Shanxi
他们把这
province
个以前这些
do
板
not
块就
have
是剥
much
离到一些新的
interaction
企业
with
中，让这个煤炭板
sectors
块和
other
非
than
煤
coal
板块都能在不同的
because
企
in the
业进行一些
previous
聚焦。
processes,
那么
the
另一方面就
non-coal
是民营
sectors
企业确
have
实
already
在
been separated from the
整个
coal
经济多元化转型
enterprises,
的过程中表现了更强的灵活性。那么他们
and we are
布
now
局范围
showing
其实
stronger
不仅仅是
flexibility.
我
For
们刚刚提
example,
到的吕阳
in
市
the
的金融
layout,
产业，那么其
the
实也涉及
hydrogen
到一些别的
industry
行业，
in
比如
Luyang
说
City is a
在
case,
我们调研
and
中
other
也有一些
industries
煤
are
企在
also
积极的布局一
involved.
些文
For
旅产业。
example, we are now
那么
focusing
其
on the
实刚刚提到
development
的
of
鹏飞企业
tourism
也
and
在做这
cultural
方面的一
industries.
些探索，例
And
如
the
他们
Pei
在
enterprise
晋
has
城市的
also
沁水
dealt
县，
a
其实
lot
是
of
对于整个全县域
explorations
的旅
in
游
these
资源进行
regards.
了一个
And we're
重新
now
的整合，然后把
integrating the
整个县域
tourism
的资源可以
resources
调配起来，然后形成一个比较
to mobilize
让
the
游客
local
接受的这样一个旅
resources
游产品。那么就
so
包括
that
了
the
其中的一
tourists
些
can better accept
古堡
them.
系列，
For
然后还有
example,
绿
the
山系列，各种的业态，然后可以聚焦到一个媒体，
ancient
从而
castle
整合地去发
series
展。
and the other tourism series that can be better
杨老师，您
integrated
刚刚提到
and
的第二个
developed.
问题是，
So your second
说着说着
question
有些
can be a bit challenging, I think.
好的。
我的第二个问题是民企如何去策动政府的一个
好的，谢谢。
So your
这个关于
second
这个民企
question
如何影响地方
concerns
政府，其实
how
刚刚在
civil
汇
enterprises
报中其
can
实也有一些
attract the
提及。
attention of
那么比
local
如说
governments. It
在
has
吕阳
also
市，
been
它成立了
mentioned
一
in
个
the
氢能
second
专班。
report.
那么
For
在这其
example,
中就
there
把
was
刚
a
刚提到的
hydrogen
2家
group
吕阳市的
in Luyang
氢
City,
能的一些龙头企业，
and
就是
the
包括这个山西煤景，还有吕
hydrogen
阳的鹏飞，
countries in Luliang, and Hongfei have both been involved in the hydrogen work group. And the relevant government departments can also come into contact and be immediately provided with feedback so that enterprises can join hands with governments to deliver new mechanisms. Thank you. Thank you, Yating. So our Q&A for the first session has already ended. I'm sorry about occupying some of the coffee break time. Now we are going to have a 13-minute break. And we are going to come back to the meeting room at 5 p.m. Beijing time and 10 a.m. Berlin time. That's all.
好的，那我们现在会议继续。
we
接下来
start?
呢
Shall
是
we
另
resume
一
our
个
discussion?
山西的案
Now I
例，
want to
来
invite
自临
another
汾。
guest
临
from
汾也
Shanxi
是
province,
一个
and
重要
we
的
want
产煤地
to
区，也曾经
listen
是
to the case study of Linfen City, which is
在
also
山
a
西，在中国也是
coal-rich
空气污染
region. And
特
also,
别严重的
Linfen
一个
suffered
城市。
from air pollution
接下来我想
very
请来
seriously
自
in
山
the
西工程
past.
的
So
李
now
女
may I
士
give the floor
来为
to
我们介绍临
Mrs.
汾的案
Li,
例。
Chief of International Communication Center from Shanxi Co-Share Innovation Institute.
好，大家好，非常开
Good
心今天
afternoon.
能有机会和大家
It's a
来
great
参
honor
加
for
这个
me
对话会，
to
然
join
后
you
一起
in
来这个
such a
分享煤炭地
dialogue
区的一
to
些转
talk
型转
about
型的一些
the industrial
经验。
transition
非
experiences
常
for
开心主办
coal-rich
方能给
regions.
我们
I'm
课
very
程给山
glad
西两
to
个机
give a
会来分享
chance
一些
for
地
Kecheng.
方产业转型
I'm
的
also
案
from
例。其
Shanxi.
实我们最
I want to
近
give you the
上半年也
case
做了一个
of,
非
you know,
常有
Linfen.
趣的
In the
研
first half
究
of this year,
案
we
例
have
研究，
done a
就
very
是
interesting
以
case study
煤炭地区它的产业
coal
路径去选了
regions
两个城市
industrial
进
routes.
行
We
案例
choose
分析。
two
一
cities
种煤炭地区
for the
的
case
产业路
study.
径
And
是
one
煤炭延
city,
伸
you
的
know,
一个煤
try
炭
to
的路径。 这
extend
个我
the
的刚才的
industrial
同事
chain
雅
of
婷
coal,
也分享了
which
吕
was
梁
shared
市，他
by
从煤炭产
Yating
业，然
in
后发展
Luliang.
灰氢，
Luliang actually
向
developed, you know,
发展
gray
氢能产业
hydrogen
的这
from
么一
coal
条路径。
industry,
那么
and that
我
is the
呢就从
extension
另
of
外
the
一个产业
industrial
路
chain.
径，
And next, I
它
want to
的
give
一
you another
个
path.
煤炭
That
非煤
means
产业拓展
we want to
路径，
develop
然后来分析以
non-coal
临汾市为例，分
industries
析一
in
下
Linfen
它
City.
的文旅产
We
业
want
在
to
煤
talk
炭
about
地
its
区的一个发
tourism,
展的一
cultural
个情况。
industries to see how they make it.
Sorry, it didn't work. Oh, press this one. OK. 不管是吕梁市还是临汾
Luliang
市，都
City
是
and
山
Linfen
西省
City
的一个煤炭的城
are
市。其实因
coal-rich
为今
cities
天也有
in
很
Shanxi
多国际
province.
的朋友
Today we
参
have so
会，所
many
以大概的跟
international
大家介绍一
guests
下
and the
山西省。
audiences, and
山西省
therefore I
是
may
中
brief
国
you
比
of this
较
province.
重要的一个煤
Shanxi
炭
actually
产
is a
区。
relatively
山西省煤
important
炭的
production
产量呢，
base
其
for
实占
coal.
到了
It
全国煤炭
produces
产量的将近
15%,
30%。
around
那占到了
30% of
全球的将近
China
也就
and
15%。所以能
15%
源
of
转
the
型，我们
global
说
volume.
全球能
And
源革
therefore,
命，看
in
中
the
国，然后中国可能会
energy
离开山西。
revolution of the world,
那
we
其实在
try
这种
to
大
narrow
量的煤
down
炭产
and
出
focus
的背后，
on
其实是
Shanxi.
我
And
们
then
山西省社会经济
Shanxi
更依赖
actually
煤炭的这
depend
么一个格
heavily on
局。现在现
coal,
状，
and
那根据全
therefore,
球能源监
according
测的报告
to
呢，到
the
2050年，山西省
international
将是
report by
全球煤炭行业失业
2050,
人数最多
Shanxi
的地
would
区。
shed the
那根
most
据我
jobs
们
globally.
我们的一个预测研究预测
According
呢，
to
也
our
是到
own
2035 年，
prediction, by
每天平均
2035,
就要
every
有近
day we
70
may
名的煤炭
lose
工人会
around
受到能源
70
转型的
coal
影响。
workers per
所
day.
以我说，不
And
论无
then
论我们怎么谈
we
能
say
源转
that
型，其实我
no
们最终要
matter
解决
how
的
we
是不挖煤，我们
shape
还能干什么？那这个
coal
我们第一
transition,
个指的
the
是煤
workers
炭
have
地区，
questions in their
那另
mind.
外
What
就
can we
是指的
do?
是所有我们
And
生活在
then
煤
it
炭
is
地区的
challenging not
人
only
们。
for the
所以很
industry
开
as a whole,
心能有这么
but
多
also
人关注
for
到这个
coal
话题，我们
workers.
来一起
And also,
分
we are
享一
so
下，就是我们
glad
不挖煤
that
了，煤
there's
炭
so
地区
many
产业
people
能转型
caring
的能
about
力。
us. We want
那
to
今
find the
年今年
path and
可能令
solutions.
山西非常欣慰
And
的一
this
件事，
year
就
we
是
have
由于
something, some good
悟
news
空
as
黑
well.
悟空游戏
And
的一
you
个爆
see
火
there's a
哈，
game,
让山西的
online
文旅
game,
产业
Wukong,
让中
and the
国
Wukong
更多人看到
actually
了。
allow more people to listen to Shanxi story and visit Xixian of Linfen City, which is really beautiful. On the left-hand side, you can see this is a famous actor Wang Xuan. He shot a picture for a magazine cover. He has a sentence describing the tourism of Linfen in a very good way. That is what I want to share with you. He said that this city is new. It is a window for us to see how the city addresses air pollution. It boasts a lot of ancient, temples and houses and compounds. And these compounds were not destroyed, and they show people's life in thousands of years before. I think the two pictures are the food for thought for you, which may allow you to think again about this Linfen city from the tourist perspective. Linfen actually is not the biggest producer in Shanxi. By 2028, it produced around 81 million tons of coal. Per capita GDP of this city is almost at the bottom or middle level of Shanxi. The second industry, accounts for 53% of the total. And also industries include like coke and the steel making and also coal industry. What exciting is that we see GDP increase of the first half of this year, top Shanxi province, and also Luliang City, which shared by my colleague, we're at the bottom of Shanxi province. So that is why we choose these two cases, one Linfen, one Luliang, etc., to allow you to see different scenarios, different cities. So why we want to choose tourism as a future direction? I give you three reasons. First one, we want to see, resource endowment. In China, we have a lot of tourist sites in Shanxi with the largest number of tourist sites. We have 53 of such tourist sites. The top among all, the 11th, number 11 among all the cities. And secondly, we have a good policies. In 2002, we were the first city to treat tourism as a pillar industry, and
we were just saying that the cultural and tourism industries were labor-intensive industries, so the population in Linfen City ranks the third in Shanxi province. It's also a strong advantage for the local development of tourism, and we now have a severe lack of innovative talents, so the local region has strong disadvantages in attracting more talents that are creative and innovative. So the current conditions of Linfen City are not very advantageous for the development of Linfen City. Actually, there are many restrictions. In the case analysis, we have adopted this map to show to you the layout of coal industry and tourism industry in these cities of Shanxi province. Over the past years, Linfen City has been vigorously delivering a set of policies, and we are establishing a framework involving top design, initiatives, and policy support. And the local governments have provided many measures to support those developments. Actually, in 2000, Linfen City has a Xiangning town promoting the development of coal industry alongside with social benefits. For example, in every 100 RMB of new revenue generated from the coal industry, 30 yuan should be taken out to be used on non-coal sectors, and 15 yuan should be spent on tourism. And through these free training and other employment services, we're now seeking structural adjustments. And we have also found that there are many more challenges to the development of the infant city, including the lack of innovative talents, the slow development of transportation, poor infrastructure, air quality, and weak tourism experience. So we need to have coordinated synergy in our future development. And these are of a national experience. For example, in South Africa and Indonesia, the governments also have strong experience in achieving transformation of local industries. So in the talents and management models, we should design a good layout. And in the local experience, Linfen City has already developed a series of highlights. For example, first we need to have policy drives to enable local coal enterprises to invest in the cultural and tourism sectors, achieving successful capital transformation. And secondly, we need to establish brands to address the structural employment challenges arising from the transition. For example, we now have the Wukong Black Mist that is very popular worldwide, and some of the scenes of Black Mist have been photoed in Shanxi province. We can use this energy to be turned into tourism resources. And although there are successful experiences of coal enterprises developing tourism, the management models of the coal industry and the tourism industry are drastically different. So we need to take money from the coal sector to establish a special fund for the development of tourism sectors. And we need to diversify the evaluation criteria. Right now, the criteria relying solely upon local GDP is very biased. So we also need to take into account the ecological and environmental factors in evaluating local development to initiate local governments to have more top-level designs and guidance. Thank you.
好的，十分感谢李莹的分享。再次抱歉，刚才
Thank you very much for sharing.
技术上的问题。那么接
We
下来
apologize for the
是一个
technical
来自德
problems.
国的案例分析。
Next, we are going
莱
to
茵矿
have
区呢是
case analysis
这个德国
from
维州的一个
Germany.
矿区，它大家可能比较熟悉的是罗
The
尔区，罗尔区
Rhenish
呢是在
mining
莱茵
area
矿区的北边。在
is
几
very
年前退出
representative
了硬煤
of
开采，但
German
是目前
industry.
褐煤开采也还在德国进行。
Right now,
那在莱茵矿区呢，有一些
the mining of lignite still
退役的有
pertains.
些煤矿呢还在进行着工作。所以接下来我想有请来自 Wuppertal
So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Yanis Butel, researcher of future energy and in-situ systems of the Wuppertal Institute. The floor is yours, Mr. Yanis.
Is Yanis online? Okay, good.
Yeah, hello everyone. Warm welcome. Good afternoon to Beijing. I'll present a few Rhenish mining area. And I will present a few slides as well. So first of all, the Rhenish mining area, I heard that the colleague talking a bit about another coal area in Germany. This one is currently the largest mining area in Germany that is mostly has a lignite, and it is in the very west of Germany. It's partly a very rural area, but also is very close to bigger cities like Düsseldorf, Cologne, and Aachen. So is in a relatively good position for this transition, and you'll see in the measures that they have taken what that means. So a bit on the context, the phase out is already happening there for about 20 years. So the number of jobs already decreased a lot through automatization, but also as some of the coal activities already phased out. So from 26,000 workers in the 1950s, there are now about 800,000 workers left. There's also a commitment to phase out coal nationally 2038, but the Rhenish mining area will phase out in 2030. And there is also probably the possibility that this will even be fastened because of the pressure from cheaper renewables, but also due to an increased carbon tax and the European mechanisms for taxation and pricing of CO2 emissions. So what this area makes a bit special in Germany is that it actually has a lot of potential already, and that this region is now trying to really foster that strength and say we want to position ourselves as a leader in the environmental change and the transition. So this is something that is probably always a good example, but of course they also have very good prerequisites development. So this needs to be taken into account when looking at this example. So I already introduced a bit of the advantages. So the region has quite a good framework of existing industries. This paper production, chemical industry, metal industry, food production. There are local universities and research facilities already in the area. And that is what you can also see on the map on the left. You have kind of positive spillover effects from the bigger metropolitan areas towards this more rural area. So depending if you drive with a car, it's maybe half an hour from the center of the mining area towards one of these cities. So it's not so far away. The disadvantage, and that is the case in many of the European coal regions and generally the more urban parts of the country, that it lacks a skilled workforce, and that especially young people tend to leave the region, and that also the public administrations on a local level would actually have the capacity for administering such a transition as it is foreseen. And also due to the fact that here are many municipalities involved, and also you have a regional level, you have a state level in Germany and the national, there has been integrated development approach for the whole region, because it was kind of hard to define what is actually the coal region. Is it just the municipalities around the mines, or where is the boundary of that area? So that is also a bit of a problem if you want to work on this in a political administrative way. So what have they been doing in the mining region? There has been, and this has been mentioned before, and also half a year ago, I presented a bit more on the national framework for structural change in Germany, if some of you were there as well. But on the now regional level, they established a dedicated strategy that's called Economic and Structural Program, version 1.1 at the moment. So as you can see there, from the beginning, it was foreseen to renew and develop this further over time. And also they established a coordinating governance body that is called Future Agency Rhenish Region, which is very, very crucial for the coordination and the overall development of this region. They do have some access to EU funding, but also national funding products, as well as that there are some energy companies and existing companies that are investing in this region. So diving a bit further into the strategies, so what they have defined here is that the region identified focus areas where these are the parts or these are the areas that we need or we should go into. And this is based on a very complex and well done analysis about the strength and the weaknesses of the regions. This is also something that all the EU regions are kind of that what they are supposed to do. It's called a smart specialization strategy approach that is done by all or most of the European subnational regions, or sometimes on the country level. And this is also resonated in these plans. So they have a part that is on energy, of course, but also say, okay, we need to invest into infrastructure. There's a dedicated strategy for industry. There is a dedicated strategy for resources and agriculture. So also circular economy approach is very important in this region. But also, as I said earlier, there are universities and young people are leaving. So innovation and education is also very integral in the Rhenish mining areas. And interestingly, through these focus areas and what is defined within these focus areas, this strategy also defines what kind of projects can be funded under the national funding mechanism. And it sets a little bit like a taxonomy for what is actually the desired direction that this region should go. This helps to also streamline the funding into ways that are actually beneficial for the region. Two examples for this would be are shown here. One is an agriculture food industry project where they are testing some different new food products, and it should support the diversification of the agriculture sector. It's a rather small project. And then the other one is the business park, where they also kind of want to create new businesses that are close to the areas that have been defined as strength and like the development areas of that region. So in the field of energy, digitalization, and agriculture technology, these are areas where the region says this is something we want to develop into. So we set up a business park and want to attract companies to settle there and to kind of create a cluster and some synergies with already existing companies. So to wrap up, what were the lessons learned here? The coordination body, the ZRR, is, I think, a very strong driver of this transition because it also reduces the competition among the municipalities. Otherwise, they would compete for this funding. Everybody would be on their own trying to be like the best place for a business, but through organizing this process a bit better, the region can now look a bit more like how can as a whole region develop in the future. And also that they found their strategy on a very thorough analysis was definitely a strength. That they included stakeholders for this process, and that they also focus a lot on innovation approaches is a key plus here. And finally, what is also quite cool is that they have a dedicated spatial planning part in their strategy, because the spatial level is often overlooked, because usually a strategy is based on a sectoral approach. So you look at sectors, you want to look at sectors, but not necessarily looking at the connections on a spatial level. So if you set up a business park, if you just set it somewhere, it's not going to provide or like dive into the synergies that could be there if you set it up in a very strategic targeted area. So having a dedicated spatial planning approach that is connected to the strategy is very crucial for the development in the region, I think. Here, just want to point you to some of the resources that we have done with the work in the co-regions in Europe. Just to give you a reference, I believe the presentation will be published afterwards on the website, so you can take a look at those support materials as well. And thank you for asking me for giving you this presentation, and all the best for the conference.
十分感谢 Yanis 你的精彩分享，有很多干货啊。其实我们看到，在欧洲很多地区的转型
Europe, a lot of bottom-up transition is something which you'll learn from. In China, actually, you have a very good advantages, and then I think that top-down approach is something necessary. We have the strategy, we have the transition goals, no matter in phasing out the fossil fuel, no matter in responding to climate change. We wouldn't have the synergy. We can ensure the coordination between government departments, reduce the competition between different firms and companies, and the stakeholders can coordinate their actions. Also, we can see better innovation, business models, etc. And then the firms owners will make wise decisions. Moreover, coordination of financial input is very important. We need to have a single body to coordinate the fund and use the fund. And that suggestion is really wonderful, insightful. In our report, for last several years, we have mentioned that before. Last but not least, we have a case from Poland. Well, actually, besides Germany, Poland actually is a very coal-rich and dependent country compared with other European countries. Poland actually is also financially challenging, and then their transition also is faced with many challenges. Therefore, we have Mrs. Anna Kopka, a special project manager and a market coordinator from Katowice, special Strefa.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon, I should also say. Thank you for your invitation. I'm glad that I can participate in your meeting and learn about your experiences with transformations. Please, I will share my screen. My name is Anna Kopka, and I'm project manager in the Katowice Special Economic Zone. Also, I'm an expert assessing applications for European Union funding related to, among others, the transformation of the region. Our region is located in the heart of Europe. The Katowice Special Economic Zones covers the area of the Silesia region and the eastern part of the Opolskie region. Today we will concentrate on Silesia region, the one on the right, because that is the region in the process of transformation. For many years, Silesia has been the most attractive region in Poland in terms of investment. It's also the largest industrial region in Poland, where in addition to traditional sectors, the automotive, service and high-tech sectors plays important roles. The best roads, rail and air communication, large educational center are advantages of Silesia region. Today's image of the region is the result of changes taking place in the economy of this area, which were influenced by, among others, also the Katowice Special Economic Zone. The history of the region is concentrated around the mining industry, including the extraction of silver, lead, iron ore, zinc, and later a very extensive development of the coal mining industry. The key event was the impulse for dynamic urban development. It led to the region being connected by a railway link to Germany. After a long period of industrial activity, it's now time to once again transform the region. The target is to minimize heavy industry and its impact on the environment through moving completely away from coal. We are hoping to achieve that before the middle of the century. Some key figures. So 12% of Polish GDP is here. The area covers 2,000 square kilometers and we have 70 urban centers. The population in our region is 4 million people and 2.6 are people in working age. What is interesting, Silesia have very low unemployment rates. Even it is lower than in Poland, so it is 3.6%. As I said, we have some advantages based on our history. So our region has the best developed railway network in Poland. What is interesting, we have Euroterminal Sławków, the westernmost contact point on a broad and standard gauge. We here in Poland find ourselves at the central point of one of the most ambitious and biggest projects in the modern world, New Silk Road. The regional and international airport with cargo shipping is the third largest with regards to passenger traffic. The region is also closely connected with 3 other major airports in Krakow, Wrocław, and Ostrawa. The area is also a very highly developed academic center, housing both technological institutes as well as universities. As you see, we have now 30 universities in our region. And because of the highly developed academic base, we offer a vast pool of graduates in a number of highly specialized faculties and departments. We have, and something about CSES. So our company was established in 1996 and our shareholders are State Treasury and 10 municipalities. We develop and offer investment areas. Also, we are selling investment plots. We will promote our region and attract new investors. And one of the instruments that can attract foreign investors is tax reliefs and issuing decision of support. We have been voted the best economic zone in Europe for the 8th year running. The zone cooperate with over 600 companies which have generated over 1,000 investment projects. Through this, we have created over 100,000 workplaces, and the value of investment has now reached over 50 billion Polish zlotys, which is around 1.2 billion euro. As you see, the largest investment is carried out by automotive industry. Also, we run the Silesia Automotive and Advanced Manufacturing Cluster, which brings together companies from the sector and provides opportunities for cooperation. Also, we have some glass production sector, steel, construction, food, wood processing, plastic machine, and others. The main investors came from Germany, South Korea, Italy, United States of America, Japan, France, and of course from Poland. What is interesting, they are rather small and medium-sized companies, but also we have many global and famous brands in our zone. So you can see, for example, examples of such companies. Now allow me to show you how quickly we are able to develop from greenfield to active production facilities. First is an area in Dąbrowa Górnicza. This picture shows you how it look like. It would look like in 2000 and 2014, and now this area is almost developed. The investment zone covers there almost 300 hectares. The area was very difficult to develop due to a large outperformance and required macro leveling in many parts. Since 2017, the Japanese NGK ceramics factory has been opening on the site. Also, we have large investment project in Tuchnava. SK Innovation wants to invest $1.5 billion. Their investment project is connected with electromobility industry. Another large investor on the site is Brembo and Press Glass. The next example is investment area in Gliwice in 2005. You can see on the picture, and now also it is almost developed. And then the last one is in Tychy, and now it looks like here. One of the most attractive financial instruments we can offer investors is a guarantee of public aid. As I said, it is income tax relief, and if you want to get benefit from it, it is necessary to receive a decision of support issued by our company. And this decision can be used for a period of 15 years. Here is how it works. The aid depends on investments cost or 2 years labor cost and the size of the company. Small companies can get 60% of 8, medium ones 50, and a large companies 40%. So if you are a medium-sized company and you invest 1 million zlotys, you can get 500,000 zloty tax relief. However, not all investment can receive public aid. You cannot get tax reliefs for heavy or mining industry. Also, you have to meet some criteria which are connected with sustainable economic and social development. We prefer projects with renewable energy sources, conducting R&D activities or projects that are connected with robotization and automation of processes. Therefore, investments in the zone are technologically advanced and contribute to the change and transformation of the region's economy. Also, I would like to tell you about additional support for the region related to the transformation process. This is the Just Transition Fund from the European Union, which can support creation of new firms, investments in small and medium-sized enterprises, research and innovation, development of post-industrial and post-mining areas, projects that are also connected with cleaner energy and environmental rehabilitation. A significant part of the fund's resources is allocated to the development of employee competences. Our region will get more than 5 billion euro from the fund for transformation process. Also, our zone runs 2 large projects co-funded by the Just Transition Fund. First is Regional Observatory of the Transformation Process. Project's leader is Marshal Office of the Silesian Voivodeship. And this project aims to support the management of the transformation process and help regional authorities plan and implement directions of change. And the second one is connected with creating and new businesses. We will influence the change of the region's economy by giving startups grants and promoting highly advanced technological green businesses as a part of the project. So thank you for invitation one more time. If you have some questions, I can also answer directly. Thank you.
到这个欧盟公正转型基金的这个资助，所以
funded or supported by European Just Transition Fund.
这个权力机构的支持对于地方上来说
So the support of a larger institution is very pivotal for the transition of a local institution. The funds can be directly provided to local governments. So that support can be very direct.
欧盟这个集体要更加紧密一点的一个国家政府来说，从
And for the national governments that are close with the European Union,
的支持其实也可以仿照这一种。
The support for one region can be replicated in other regions as well. Now we are going to have comments. Today we are a little bit behind schedule, so we need to control our commentaries a little bit. Now we are going to give the floor to Ms. Wen Xinyuan. Please control your comment within 5 minutes.
尊敬的各位专家，各位大家上午、下午好。首先感谢 Agora 的邀请，我是温馨源，来自于基金会国际合作项目组。
I am from the Energy Foundation China, and I am officer from the International Cooperation Department. We major in themed researches and facilitating mutual understanding to promote international just transition. Just transition is our top priority, and we are very glad to join hands with Agora in talking about transition issues. Apart from these, we also support co-shares efforts in conducting just transition researches and the Center for Global Affairs, China-US co-transition dialogues. And we have also co-organized economic diversity dialogues between China and the US for experts from both sides to talk about typical cases. Phasing out coal and reducing coal consumption are crucial for just transition. Because coal is still the most important power source for many countries and a pillar for employment, according to Global Monitor, by 2025, 1 million jobs of the coal industry will disappear, and that is around 1/3 of all the employment opportunities within the industry now. So many people will be affected by it, and taking Shanxi as an example to encourage just transition plays an important role in spreading this experience. So the European Union data has shown that by 2023, thermal power only accounts for 13% the entire power supply in the European Union, and it has also stipulated that coal-fire will be gradually phased out before the year 2023. This is also an opportunity to create new employment. And these positive trends have shown that although faced with multiple challenges, if we adopt the right policies, it's possible for us to conduct just transition. And we can facilitate the just transition in other regions of China as well. I believe that the sharing by our experts has provided us with meaningful suggestions. The experiences first, diversification of industries, promoting the tertiary industry, and namely tourism and cultural industries. Secondly, we need to coordinate the stakeholders and policy tools to show that apart from national frameworks, we need our own coordination agencies and coordination among international banks, private sectors, and European Union funds as well. And we need to consider inclusive growth and the empowerment of women in the process of just transition as well. In the process of development and just transition, we also need to address balance. In different phases of transition, different regions may face similar challenges, although there are differences in status quo and resources. The challenges are applicable to a global level, so if we can share the research results and together what will be the major concerned elements, as well as the stakeholders that will be influenced, and to further raise policy suggestions that would be very meaningful. We are going to join hands with more experts and partners to conduct more dialogues. And finally, I would like to thank Agora and thank all our experts for your participation. I hope we'll have more opportunities of this kind to talk about just transition. Thank you. Swin, next, I would like to give the floor to Ms. Constancia of Poland to talk about the cup. Please have a wrap up. less than 10 minutes.
Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Konstancja Żółkowska and I represent Forum Energy, a Polish think tank that is a partner in this just energy transition in coal regions. And so now, as our 2-year research project is coming to an end, I am pleased to share some insights on promoting non-energy sectors in coal regions. I will try to do it as fast as possible and to stick to as the time is running out. And so when we are analyzing economic diversification in coal regions, it's essential to start by assessing each region's potential, and this is what we saw in case of the Rhenish case, for instance, that was discussed today. And I think there are like really many similarities between Polish regions and German ones. So in Poland, coal regions vary significantly, but there are also some important similarities when it comes to the potentials of the regions. And so one of the assets is the large availability of former industrial areas. So these are areas that are left by the mining industry. They are often like brownfield sites, but still they have some limitations, but still they represent a valuable resource. Then often coal regions have robust transport connections, including rail networks, so they link them well with the rest of the country. Then maybe the third advantage is, at least in case of Silesia region that was also discussed today, this is like the substantial workforce with technical skills and also scientific foundation, like technical universities. And then finally, this is really important to look at human capital and the skills of the employees in the coal industry. And based on this, to identify industries that align well with their skills. And here the research in Poland shows that industries requiring technical skills on the one hand, and also the ones that demand physical labor on the other. These are the industries that align well with the existing workforce structure in coal regions. And well, so in the Silesia region that was discussed today, which has been undergoing transition for the longest period of time, what we show that manufacturing industry is really the best fit for these characteristics. And maybe this is followed also by construction industry, but let me focus on manufacturing industry right now. So Polish experience today shows that mining workers, like former mining workers, adapt relatively well to the reality of the industrial processing. And also the investment areas are in place which are needed for manufacturing. Good logistics is also crucial, and also the presence of scientific infrastructure. So what we observe is that all these elements come together to create really a kind of a perfect match to develop manufacturing industry in the post-coal regions. But also what is important that the challenge that we face in Poland is whether this successful model that took place in Silesia can be replicated in other coal regions that are like more there are rather like really coal monocultures and also lack sometimes like good traditions of manufacturing and also lack this scientific foundation. And here we analyze the example of Bełchatów lignite region that is far less advanced in transition, and the strength of the region is the great potential of the post-mining area that is really good to develop renewables, and these renewables could play a role of pull factor for manufacturing industry or chemical industry if we think of using these renewables to produce hydrogen. But still, this is not that easy to attract this kind of very big, large-scale investment of manufacturing, chemical industry, cement industry to the region that does not have traditions of this kind. And here what we see as a very crucial, and this was also mentioned in this German case, is the good coordination between the central level and the regional level. And this is a kind of a bitter observation here from Poland, that we really lack this. And the regional authorities are not capable of attracting investment if there is no strategic decisions on the central level and no support on the central level to the regions. So on the one hand, we need a dialogue with stakeholders on the regional level, but also we need some strategic decision on a central level to attract this kind of bigger investments in manufacturing industry, for instance. So these are like my observations from Poland, and thank you very much for the invitation.
好的，谢谢 Constantia 你的点评。好，那个我特别赞同你的总结。然后其实从我们上一次的这个
last time we had a review meeting which generated a lot of interesting results. Poland and Shanxi are faced with a similar trend that coal or energy companies are doing some non-coal businesses with non-coal investment. And just as what was introduced in the case of Shanxi, the capital are in coal mining industry are huge, and they are flowing into other non-coal industries, and that is also interesting and meaningful for coal-rich regions. Time is very limited. I don't think we have further time for discussions, so let's come to the conclusion session. So first of all, may I give the floor to our chief expert of CEC, China Electric Council, Mr. Yao. Thank you very much, Yang Zhou. I personally is a learner here. However, you give me such an important task to do. I want to use something to summarize my conclusion. Well, different countries have different carbon neutrality and peaking goals, and we can expect the future of different countries. What about the challenges? We need to think about the difficult but right decisions so that we can come up with right law, early date, reach social consensus, attract resources to the needed industries, and promote industrialization. After a whole month of learning, I think if you move earlier and then you have better preparation and then your plan will be better. The early runners in transition will receive more capital support, public policy support, and then your transition cost will be relatively lower. That is what we have learned. The early runners and movers will have more competitive advantages. So I want to thank you for your sharing of insights. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yao. All right. Our research also reached similar conclusions. The early you start, the cost, the lower the cost is. When Germany declared the phasing out of coal, they learned something like license. Last but not least, I want to give the floor to our colleague and our colleagues who is in charge of the clean power transformation, Dr. Yin Ming. In this whole afternoon, we have a rich discussion. We learned a lot. It's better to stand up. I want to thank. Yeah, it kept me. I want to face my audience. This is a dialogue. Thank you very much. Tied in the seat into the supper time. And then I think that we have a lot of cases studies. And then the speakers keep the time, and also they gave us a lot of insights. It's an eye-opening journey this afternoon, personally speaking. Coal industries and coal regions and their challenges are put in the global prospect first, and then here we also have some regional perspectives. When you combine a global and the regional perspective, you reach something good. For some coal regions, their transition actually it is challenging what we can expect. Very clear expectations. It is a must. No matter how fast you move, you have to transition in the end. It includes the social transition, technological support, financial support. A lot of factors need to be considered. And therefore, such a transition, needs to be linked with the local governance capability, the capabilities of local think tanks, and also the participation, even voluntary participation of stakeholders there. I want to save your time, and also because I am a learner as well here, what I want to share with you at last is, firstly, I want to thank the supporters, Energy Foundation. Thank you very much for your support. EU Coal Region Transition Program, thank you for your long-term support. And secondly, I want to thank the experts online and offline. Thank you for your participation. You are playing a very significant role. Your contribution to this program ensures the fruitfulness and success of this program. Thirdly, I hope Energy Foundation could support us more in the future in the follow-up research in the future, not only for Shanxi, maybe we include Shanxi, but also some other regions. This is a continuing, ongoing challenge China will face in the coming decades. Also, I want to thank you, so many technicians supporting us. Thank you very much. And also our interpreters. And also, also our volunteers, our interns. Thank you for your, hard time and efforts. Last but not least, I want to have some good news for you. December 3rd, China-EU Coal Region Transition Report will be officially released and issued. Continue, join us in some activities. If it is convenient for you, please join us online or offline. Last but not least, I wish you a good night. Thank you.
好，我们会议都结束了，谢谢大家。
This is the end of the conference. Thank you very much. Our experts online especially, and also my colleagues online.